There was a married couple celebrating their 60th wedding anniversary. They had a special dinner. And the husband said to the wife, "Boy, 60 years, I just can't believe it. I just wonder how we made it." And the wife said, "I know exactly how we made it, and I'll show you." And she went into the bedroom, and she came back out with a wooden box. She opened it up. It had 2 crocheted dolls and $50,000 in cash. He said, "Tell me about this." She said, "When we got married, my mother pulled me aside and said, 'Look, there are going to be days when this guy will be a jerk. And you are going to want to be angry and hostile with him. But instead of being angry and hostile, I want you to crochet a doll.'" So he looked in the box. "Gee, 60 years, 2 dolls, that's not so bad." He said, "Okay, I understand about the dolls. Now tell me about the cash." She said, "Oh, that's from selling dolls." Nothing is worse than email. You take a day to come here today to spend doing this positive thing, and you're going to go home to who knows how many emails. You know, I'll be away for 2 days. I'll go back to 50 or 60 emails. And emails are insidious. They eat up your time. You're constantly working with those emails. In fact, I want to tell you a quick story about emails. There was a married couple celebrating their 10th wedding anniversary. They lived in Minneapolis. So they wanted to celebrate it with a second honeymoon in Florida, where they had first honeymoon. So because of the schedule, the husband was going to go down first. The wife was going to follow the next day. So he went down, checked into the hotel, got the honeymoon suite. Everything about it was perfect, just like he remembered it. And so he said the only difference was in the room now was a computer. So he said, "Well, there's a computer. I might as well send my wife an email." So he dashed her off an email. Unfortunately, he had the wrong address. So the email did not go to Minneapolis. It went to Houston, to the home of a 71-year-old woman returning from the funeral of her husband, a pastor. She walked in the front door with her son. The son went off to the kitchen to get something to eat. She went to the computer room because a lot of people send condolences by email. He heard a scream and a thud. She had fainted dead away. He revived her, and then he took a look at the email, and this is what it said. "To my darling wife, I know you are surprised to hear from me. They have computers here now. And you are allowed to send emails to your loved ones. I have just arrived and been checked in. I see that everything has been prepared for your arrival tomorrow. And look forward to seeing you then. Hope your journey is as uneventful as mine was. P.S. Sure is hot down here." If you want to exercise regularly, 2 things I'd advise you is, first, get a partner. You will never be so faithful to exercise on your own as you will with a partner. I run in the mornings. I get up at 5 o'clock. I'm usually running by 5:30. I can remember a February morning. I live in Seattle. The rain was horizontal. The radio said 37 degrees. I was under a down comforter. I said, "I'm not going. I just don't want to go." Well, the problem is I have a running partner. I can't call his house at 5 o'clock and wake up his kids just to say I don't feel like going. So I got up, I got dressed, went down to the corner, we took a run. I was so happy when it was over, but I never would have done it if it had been on my own. It's called the epitaph test. If you were to die today, based on the way you're living today, what goes on the stone? I did this in a seminar, and I had this male voice from the back of the room say, "This isn't going so well." I said, "What's the problem?" He said, "Well, if I died today, we'd have to put 'Here lies the best widget salesman in the 11 western states.'" I said, "What would you prefer?" He said, "I'd much rather be known as a wonderful husband and a terrific father, but I'm traveling around selling these widgets all the time. I never get to see my family." It was a considerable source of stress. I saw him a year later. I said, "How you doing?" He said, "I'm the best widget salesman in 4 western states. I've cut down my territory. I'm still very productive, but now I'm the baseball coach for my kids' team. Now I'm home enough to be a full partner to my wife." He said, "If I died today, husband and father goes on the stone." And because of that, he was managing his stress because he was living in concert with his goals and values. I have 2 children. They're grown, but they grew up in the Pacific Northwest, and I know it's the same as the kids here in Columbia. Everybody grows up playing youth soccer. So when my daughter was 14, she was chosen for an all-girls team that went to play for a month in Germany. So we washed cars, collected newspapers, wrote checks, did whatever we had to do. The kids went over to Germany. They had a great time. Then they came home, and the German girls came here. So we were host in our home for 1 week to 2 14-year-old German girls, soccer players. Now, they're going to play a lot of soccer, but we also want to show them the area of the world where we live. And my wife said, these kids are not going back to the Harz Mountains of Germany without seeing the Pacific Ocean. I said, well, that's no big deal. I live in a place called Gig Harbor. It's a harbor. As far as I know, that water is connected to the Pacific Ocean. She wasn't buying that. So my fallback was, okay, let's take them out to the Washington coast. It's an hour, 15-minute ride. We'll show them the beaches. They'll see the big rollers. She wasn't buying that either. She didn't want to bring these kids to the coast of Washington. She said the coast of Washington is not the true Pacific Ocean. She wants to bring them to the coast of Oregon. Now, I don't know if anybody in this room has ever had the great good fortune to drive Highway 101 down the Oregon coast, but this is fabulous. I mean, it's crashing waves, wonderful beaches, whales, sea lions, trees a couple of 100 feet tall, blue sky, green everywhere. It's glorious. She wants to bring them to Cannon Beach, Oregon. The problem is Cannon Beach is a 3.5-hour drive from my house, and I have 1 day to do it in. So I agree to do it, but as a type A, what do I say to myself? 3.5 hours? No way. 2 hours, 20 minutes, max. So I am out busily breaking the land speed record. I look in the rearview mirror. Here's a red light pulling me over. Trooper comes to the window. He says, how long since your last ticket? I said, oh, about 5 years. He said, well, you're driving too fast, so he wrote me out a ticket. Now, any sane person, any type B personality would say, we just got a ticket for speeding. Let's limp into Cannon Beach. What does a type A say? That guy made me late. I'm off schedule. What do you do to get back on schedule? You go faster. I did. 20 minutes later, rear view mirror, red light pulling me. Now, I happen to glance into the back seat. There's 4 children. There's my 14-year-old daughter who would like to be dropped off at the nearest nunnery. Life is over. There are the 2 German girls who have actually seen this before on a rerun of Miami Vice. And there's my then 11-year-old son who thinks this is God's gift to 11-year-old boys. He is so happy to be sharing this experience with his dad. Well, a trooper comes to the window. What's the first thing he says? How long since your last ticket? And my son never misses a beat. He says, well, actually, officer, not all that long.